There's been a lot of talk lately on the Metroidvania subreddit and across the internet at large about a recently announced indie title called Gleamlight, and whether or not it's a blatant ripoff of indie game darling Hollow Knight. In fact, the accusations have gotten so rampant that the developers themselves have been forced to comment on the situation. You can't find a video or thread discussing the game without running into these often negatively painted comparisons. A Hollow Knight ripoff might as well be the game's official subheader at this point. But how much of this is warranted? Let's really think about it. At first glance, the game does bear a striking resemblance to Hollow Knight. From the object scaling to the combat to, most pressingly, the atmosphere and mood. The game is a traditionally animated Metroidvania just like Hollow Knight. We don't get too many of those over pixel-based games, so it stands out as especially notable. Gleamlight is centered on the aesthetic of stained glass paintings. Everything seems to adhere to this design, both environment and characters alike. It uses a lot of dark shadows and soft lighting, similar to Hollow Knight, although one could easily make the argument that this sort of lighting is inherently beneficial to the chosen art style. Beyond the visuals, the game also appears to play a lot like Hollow Knight. The platforming and combat are very reminiscent of it, although in fairness, how distinct could those things be from many other side-scrollers, let alone Metroidvanias? The developers insist the game has nothing to do with Hollow Knight, and was not inspired by it. Regardless of whether or not you believe that statement, it does beg the question, why do people hate ripoffs, or at the very least things that are perceived to be ripoffs? In any artistic medium, creativity and originality are highly valued. Nobody wants the same old thing time after time, right? Well, it sort of depends. I love a good bologna and cheese sandwich, but how many do I have to eat before I get sick of them? I could eat one a day for a week and you probably wouldn't hear any complaints, but if I ate all 7 in a row, the story might be different. People often talk about palate cleansers, a phrase which hereby means a change in what you're consuming to refresh yourself for the next offering of the familiar. Like eating a PB&J or playing, I don't know, whatever this is. Gamers seem pretty eager to accept spiritual successors and homages, but it seems an arbitrary amount of time needs to pass for that to be acceptable. People flocked to Bloodstained because there hadn't been a proper Yooka-Laylee in years. People love games like A Hat in Time, and maybe that other one, because cutesy 3D platformers had long since fallen out of the mainstream. Games like Dusk, Ion Fury, and Wrath Aeon of Ruin appeal to fans of 90s FPS conventions, such as health packs, unlimited arsenals, hidden secrets, and fast-paced movement, which modern FPS games, with some exceptions, have long abandoned. I see many people saying it was too soon for a Hollow Knight homage, given the game is only 2 years old and has an eagerly awaited sequel on the way. And for many people, it's irrelevant whether the developers of Gleamlight intended to be one or not. The fact that it feels like one is enough. And many would argue the previous examples had a lot more charm and uniqueness that made them stand out from their inspirations. Even something like Salt and Sanctuary, often chastised as a 2D Dark Souls clone, at least brings something new to the conversation by changing the perspective. For a lot of people, Gleamlight is too similar, too soon, and that's why they've written it off. But I don't think that's all there is to the story, because I think if Gleamlight's trailer was better, people wouldn't be so harsh on it. My biggest problem with the footage shown is that the animations look stiff and lifeless, which isn't helped by the comparisons to Hollow Knight, which boasts beautiful and lovingly animated characters, amplified by appealing visual effects. Everything shown in the Gleamlight trailer looks too basic, and while the environments look pleasant, they don't appear to have much in them. The player character never seems to be fighting more than one enemy at a time, which makes the stilted animations even more apparent since they're front and center. A lot of the animation in Hollow Knight is deceptively simplistic, but it masks it very well with eye-catching visual effects that really sell the impact of movements and attacks. Dust clouds, motion swipes, energy pulses, it all makes the game feel exciting and lively. Gleamlight can't help but feel like a lesser version of what it's being compared to, and that's people's real issue, I feel. Anyone who enjoyed Hollow Knight wants more Hollow Knight, that's why Silksong is so highly anticipated. I don't think the Metroidvania community would object to more Hollow Knight-like things if they just came within striking distance of Hollow Knight's quality. The problem isn't that Gleamlight looks and feels like Hollow Knight, it's that it doesn't look and feel enough like Hollow Knight. Most of the community says they want something different, but I feel like they just want the game to be better than it currently seems. Salt and Sanctuary is a pretty shameless Dark Souls clone by its developer's own admission, but a lot of people don't mind because it's more Dark Souls. It's more of something they loved, and because it comes close enough in quality, it's often seen as a compliment rather than a degrading remark. So basically what I'm saying is that if Gleamlight wants the community's approval, they don't need to be less like Hollow Knight. They need to take more inspiration from it and polish it up to be something that can stand beside it, maybe even aim to surpass it. Hollow Knight was not particularly innovative with its design, but everything it did so damn well that it was praised for being the complete package, wrapped up in a unique aesthetic and world. Gleamlight has that same potential, they just need to realize it. All art is inherently derivative. It's how we spin pre-existing ideas in our own ways that make the difference. Just as Hollow Knight created something fresh and amazing by following in the footsteps of the classics, so too can Gleamlight if we give it that chance. So don't write it off completely based on a single trailer. If it comes out and it's as bland and uninspired as people are saying, no, that's one thing. But calling something a ripoff this early just because it reminds you of something else is just being needlessly negative. Great art should inspire more great art, and I'm not going to shame the Gleamlight devs for taking inspiration from one of the best games of the past decade. All that matters is whether they have the talent and passion to reach those same heights. Let's hope that they do. If you liked this video and want to see more like it, please consider subscribing down below. Until next time, Zeke Freak out. Ciao ciao for now.